Tonight we're talking about something that isn't talked about a lot openly. Why couples stop touching. So if you're there and you're joining, thanks for joining. If you follow me, if you don't follow me, stick around. We're going to be talking around why couples stop touching. So let's see if anyone's joining. Mr. Spelling's joined. Guru Builder's joined. Hi, how you going? LM's joined, Carla's joined, Chris has joined. Thanks for joining. We're going to be talking about why couples stop touching. So if that's happening in your relationship, stick around. And I don't just mean just sex. So although I know a lot of you will be thinking about that as well, because I get so many comments in my DMs and so many comments online about not having sex for years. So we will touch on that, but I'm talking about some of the things that happen before that stops happening. So holding hands, a hug in the kitchen as you walk past, a kiss, hello when you're greeted at night, sitting next to each other or even sitting in the same room, those sorts of things. So if that's all happening in your relationship and you're feeling a bit more like roommates, then this is for you. So stick around. Tell me where you're joining from. Where are you? Are you in Australia? Are you on the other side of the world? I would love to know. And if you're joining and you're part of my community board, the Roommate Reset board, thank you for being here, because I've seen some of you have registered. So thank you for being here. South Africa. I get a lot of people from South Africa. Thanks for joining. Have you ever joined before? Yes or no? So I know that you're a new person. I'm from the Gold Coast, best place on earth. Yes, I'm from the Gold Coast as well. For those of you that don't know me or have seen my page before, I talk about separated couples because that's who I used to work with. And I also give you the warning signs of what to look out for in your relationship to hopefully help you reconnect. New South Wales, Sydney, thanks for joining. So if those sort of touches have disappeared in your relationship, that's what we're going to be talking about, and you're definitely not alone here. If you look on my page, or if you do already follow me, I hope that some of the comments online show you that you are not alone here. I'm Lee. I spent years working with separated couples, and this was something that I noticed as a common thing that would be brought up in the mediation room, that not touching anymore caused a lot of disconnection in relationships. Hi Lee, hi, thanks for joining. 12:03 noon in Ireland. Oh well, thank you for joining. Are you on your lunch break? Cheers from Alabama. Wow, 6 a.m. Wednesday. Thanks for joining. Do you join my page or you just found it? Tell me. You Aussie? Yes, I am. What are you? Anthony? I am an Aussie from the Gold Coast. Are you an Aussie? As I said, I spent years working with separated couples, and everything that I talk about is giving you some insight into what I heard were some of the common things that broke relationships down. So that's, Queensland Mackay, just found it. Great, come join me. I do this every week. It's free. I go live every week. I'll probably start doing them more often and just give you some free insight into what I saw, what were some of the common things that broke relationships down, and what are some of the things that you can do to try and fix it. Love the Australian accent. Oh, thank you. Where are you from? If I miss comments, please feel free to send me a DM. Post of the week, I usually mention a post of the week. If you've watched any of my lives before, I usually talk about the post of the week. So the post of the week was about touch, and what I mentioned in there was you've gone weeks without a kiss to each other. You can't remember the last time that you've hugged each other. The dog might get more affection than you do. That nobody's left, but the affection has in the relationship. If that's you, write affection so that I know that people are here and it's resonating with you, that you are feeling the same. I got so many comments from the post that I put up. I got so many comments about that it's been years since they haven't touched. Yes, this is so true. And talking a lot about loneliness, the loneliness of feeling that you haven't had any affection or any touch. So that's also a common thing that gets brought up a lot. So one comment I always get as well is that they haven't had sex for years. So as I said, I know that some of you will want to be talking about that. No, would love to visit Australia one day. Yes, please do. It is beautiful, especially come to the Gold Coast. One comment, yeah, I always get is not having sex for years. So if that's you as well, please know that you're not alone. There are so many other people. It's just not something that is spoken about. And after working with so many separated couples, that was something that was so common that had disappeared. So, hello from Texas. Hi, Texas, how cool. Why does the touch stop? If anyone's there and wants to send me a comment and tell me what you notice the most, what's one thing that you notice most missing from your relationship in relation to touch? Is it hugs? Is it kisses? Is it sitting on the couch and being on the opposite couches? What is it that's something? We are only still living together is because financially we don't have a choice. Any advice? So that is something that regularly comes up, that a lot of people stick around for the finances and for the children. So my best advice would be is to, when someone is going through a separation, we always tell them to get some legal advice so that you know what your rights are, what exactly you would be entitled to if anything were to break down and you did finally make the decision to leave. So that would be my number one, to get some legal advice. And there are free services if it's something that you're struggling with as well. There are a lot of free services out there, so that's something that you can do. Why does it happen? So it usually stops long before love does. So many people would say, waiting for the kids to grow up, then leave. Yes, so a lot of people do say that they stick around until the children are old enough, and then once they're empty nesters, that's when people make the decision to leave. So that is not uncommon as well. So yeah, as I said before, getting some legal advice is probably the best thing that you can do. In Australia, people have to attempt mediation first before they can go through the family law court. So that's what I did. That's why I have the experience in hearing what people were the reasons why people's relationship broke down. So my aim is to try and help as many people as I can, because it used to make me sad to think that two people that once loved each other are sitting in the room together and they completely hate each other and would do anything to bring that person down. So I think I used to sit there and think, was there something that you could have done beforehand? And so many people would say, I wish I'd done something sooner. I wish, that I wasn't caught by surprise that someone had finally ended up deciding to leave. So if you're there and you want to hear some things of what are some of the things you can do to try and fix it, stick around, because I just want to try and help. I want to try and help as many people as I can. That's my intention with the page. It usually stops, as I said, long before the love does. So every day, and so many people can relate to this, that every day becomes about just getting through life and the mundane of it all. Work, chores, bills and kids. And for a lot of people, we're all just surviving through it. And touch is a symptom of that, because when you're tired and fatigued, you don't feel like it anymore. Why would you continue like this? So as I said again, so many people stay for hope. People have hope that things will change. And so many people stay for kids and finances as well. And some people do still truly love their partner. They just have become disconnected along the way. And I do believe that if you are still in love, that there are ways that you can reconnect if you're both willing to try. It comes down to effort, and it comes down to both wanting that to happen. If you're just joining, we're talking about why couples stop touching in relationships. What are some of the things that you can do to try to fix it? Because I just want to help as many people. So please ask me as many questions as you want. If I don't see some of your questions, sometimes if I'm mid-talking and I don't see any of your questions, feel free to shoot me a DM. I'll try and get to it as soon as I can. Touch is replaced by functionality. And what I mean by that is, if you think in general of what's happening in your relationship or what has happened over the years, you might be at the point, I have a lot of people that say that they're at the point where they're not really communicating at all. But if you think of some of the steps beforehand, what I mean by functionality becomes what you do for touch then is it becomes function in how you speak to each other. So hand me the remote. You might squeeze past each other at the dishwasher. Pass me the salt on the table. taking the rubbish out of their hands, that becomes the functionality of the relationship. So you're no longer doing the random acts of touch that you might have done beforehand when you were fully connected. So kissing when you walk past, resting a hand on their leg, a hand on the back. Nobody is creating the romance anymore. So there's some of the reasons why it happens. Oh, yes, the UK. Thank you. Go Australia. Oh, do you mean in the World Cup? Is that what we're talking about? So if there's resentment there, it is really difficult to work through. If there's some things individually you can work through, you know, I say that a lot as well. A lot of people would talk about being unhappy individually throughout the relationship. And so are there some of the things that you can do to improve your own happiness? What is it that you're bringing to the relationship? Could you work through? And then as a couple, what are some of the things you can do to work through? But if you're feeling like it's all too hard, or you're feeling like it's too late, then it becomes about drawing a line in the sand and thinking, how long do you want to live like that for? And that's ultimately what makes people make the decision in the end. How long do they want to live like that for in their life? We're at the point, don't know how to fix it, gone too far. So if you're at the point of not knowing how to fix it, I put up a post tonight saying that I have a wait list for, it's called the Roommate Reset. It's a 30-day daily guide of simple steps of what you can do to try and reconnect. And it's not going to miraculously fix everything if you haven't been connected for years. But what it can do is get you from being stuck. And that's my aim for it. So if that's something that you're interested in, the link's in my bio and it will be ready soon. So please, if that's something, and I'm also about to start giving out the first 3 days for free. So again, if that's something that you'd be interested, shoot me a DM, write the word start so I know that it's you, that you're wanting the 3-day free, and I will get it to you as soon as it's done. My aim is just to help as many people and see if we can get some relationships back on track. That's my aim, to try and help as many relationships as possible. And so it's really hard to give solutions in a 12-second TikTok video. So that's why I run these lives, and I'm happy to answer anything. Oh, Sunshine Coast. Hi, I'm coming up there next week, going to Noosa. I think we all want to be seen, heard, and appreciated. And so that's a lot of what I have in the first 30 days of trying to get some of that back. And so if that's something that you'd be interested in, the waitlist is in my bio. So please join. Over time, you stop giving the messages that say that you still want them. So a lot of people say, you know, they didn't feel wanted, they didn't feel seen, and touch is how we communicate to someone that we do still want them. So that is what signals to someone whether you still care or whether you're still interested in them physically. So when that stops, if there's unresolved hurt, or if there's constant criticism, if there's resentment, then usually the resentment comes from constantly being rejected. And over time, someone's body reacts to that, and it can become guarded, and it's a defense mechanism to protect themselves from being rejected again. So if you're out there and you're feeling like that you've been rejected multiple times and you're not knowing where to go to from it, then stick around, because I'll give you some steps on what you can do. A lot of it has to do with lowering the pressure around sex. People think that's the end goal. Yes, to get that back on the agenda, but to get to there, you have to start some of these smaller steps first. Otherwise, someone feels the pressure and just shuts down. So stress and fatigue is another thing that causes people to stop touch. You mightn't think it sounds related, but your nervous system is in survival mode if you're in constant stress, and then we stop noticing our partner so much because we're in constant worry of the other things that are going on in our lives, that becomes something that you don't even think about anymore. So that was another thing that a lot of couples said, that when they hadn't been having sex for years, it was something that they had said, well, they just got used to not. it just became normal in their relationship. They didn't really talk about it. There were so many other things going on. And so over time, it had then become years since they had. And I remember the very first, Eileen, hello. I'm new to you. How are you? If you're new to me and you're feeling disconnected in your relationship, or you're feeling like roommates, that's what this page is about. So follow along, join. And if you're wanting some help with anything, working full time just took over tiredness. Yes, so tiredness, especially when people have young children, tiredness is something that, someone's been working all day, someone's been looking after the kids all day, you're exhausted, you're trying to just keep on top of everything. Finance is a big stress for people, especially if you're on one salary, that then becomes a stress. So a lot of the time, it is exhaustion and burnout that causes people to just shut down. And if you're not openly communicating, then it can happen really quickly. It can come up on you suddenly, but it can happen really quickly that you're no longer feeling connected. So I want you to think about what's one thing that you could do this week to try and change that. And I'm going to give you some of the things that you could do. And that's what my aim is for this week. Working interstate, not home a lot. So do you then live separately during that week? Is that what you mean? Marion's just joined. Thanks for joining. If you're just joining, we're talking about not having any touch in your relationship anymore. And not just about sex, that there are other small bits of touch, holding hands, kissing, hugging, all of those sorts of things as well. Talk about these things of why it's happened. A lot of these things came before the sex disappeared. So when you stop touching outside of the bedroom, it's really unlikely that you're going to be touching inside the bedroom. When you stop laughing together anymore, when you stop laughing together, or when the resentment builds, intimacy is the first thing to be less desirable. It's a symptom of that. It's a result of those things. People don't just stop for no reason. So that's really want to reiterate. What are some of the reasons as to why you could think of why it stopped? How long has it been? How long have you left it go for before someone tried to do something? So a lot of getting back on track is about not waiting. You can't be the one always waiting for something to happen or waiting for something to change. If you really want it to change, then maybe you might have to be the one to take the first step. That might be something that you have to do. So the good news is, though, for anyone out there why touch has stopped, it can be rebuilt through intentional little moments. If it's happened over years and it got to that point over years of small things that happened along the way, then think of that in the reverse, that small things can then get you back to that and build warmth and trust again. Number one, you need to start small. You need to start small in how you're bringing the touch back into the relationship, because at first it's going to feel weird. If you haven't been doing it for a long time, it's not going to feel normal. So if you're just joining, because I can see that a lot of people are joining. Hi, Mickey. I have a roommate relationship now. Years. I can see some comments of what you're saying. So just before I get into that, if there's anyone just joining, we're talking about why couples stop touching. I worked with hundreds of couples, separated couples. So my aim is to try and help people, give these people warning signs. So my whole page is about warning signs of what's happening in your relationship. If you can pinpoint any of those things are happening in your relationship, then they're the warning signs. And if you don't want to be, I can see someone's written lack of communication. I'll come back to that, Eileen. If you have a question around that, send me a question, but I'll come back to lack of communication in a minute. If you are sitting there and you're thinking that these things just happened overnight, it doesn't usually just happen overnight. Another thing you can do is taking the pressure away. Thank you. No worries, Eileen. Just tell me if you have a question around communication. If you don't want to write it on here, feel free to send me a DM. So taking the pressure away from the touch of having to lead to anything. So again, if this has been happening for years, it's not going to come naturally that you just jump into bed together again. That's not realistic. It's not realistic to think that if you haven't been touching for years, that you're not going to have to do a little bit, and I'll say foreplay, but I don't really mean foreplay. I mean the stuff before the bedroom. So giving a hug that doesn't have to lead to anything. Having a longer lasting kiss that doesn't have to lead to anything. So without expecting anything, show your partner that you can do these things without it having to lead to anything. Because if you think of when you first started dating, and I know that, you know, that's not realistic for that to last after years. But if you think of how you would touch your partner in the beginning compared to the functionality of it now, it's incredibly different. And so how do you get back to that without it being awkward? So I think if you do some of these smaller things first and show your partner that you do still care, or you are still interested, or you find them physically attractive, what are some of the things that you did in the beginning that you could do now? Addiction and trauma plays a role, yes. Now I'm going to touch on that while I've got you there for that, because when I worked with separated couples, it astounded me how many people are still going through domestic violence and drug and alcohol addiction issues. So I don't touch on any of that because I don't feel that a simple guide that someone can give you will support you through that enough. So I don't touch on that. In my 30-day guide, I make it very clear that it's not for people going through that. And if you are going through that, I hope you know that there are so many support networks out there for people. If you're feeling unsafe, or you are feeling that there has been physical and emotional abuse, please contact. You can start with your GP and they can point you in the right direction. But I don't touch on that because I don't want to ever undermine any of that. So yes, I do know that that is still happening in relationships. Oh, Eileen, I'm a talker. I like talking. Talking makes plans. Him, not so much. Says he's not a talker. Yes, so did you know that in the beginning? And how long have you been together? Tell me how long you've been together. And did you communicate in the start, or has it just shut down over a period of time? So the other thing I'm going to say is, and in the first few days of my roommate reset, is sitting together in the same room and watching a TV show or a movie that you know you both will like, but just sitting next to each other. And it sounds so simple and easy, but I guarantee you the people who haven't had sex in years have probably not done that for a while either. I am going to imagine, and I try and make my videos as relatable as possible, of if I was a fly on your wall, what would I see in your house? And I can guarantee you that I know that a lot of people are either sleeping separately or they're sitting separately. So one of the things in the first few days is, because it's no pressure either, you can, do you mind doing 100 push-ups? Because I'm something. No, I'm not doing 100 push-ups, but thank you. Been together 17 years. No, we spoke about all sports over the years. Seems to be more noticeable. Oh, so is it something that's recently happened? And what do you think is the biggest thing? What have you noticed shift the most from that? Eileen, I'm happy for you to DM me if you want to DM me, and I can talk a little bit more about it with you. So, as I said, one of the things is sitting together in the same room, and not only on the same room, but on the same couch. You know, it's all well and good to even be in the same room, but so many people are even disconnected in the same room. You could be watching the same show, but you're both sitting on your phones. So I talk about that a lot, because these are the basic things that are happening that are impacting the relationship over a period of time. So sitting together in the same room, on the same couch, and you have an opportunity to touch your partner then. If you haven't been doing that for a long time, it doesn't require any talking. It's not a big, deep and meaningful. You can sit there, watch something, and have an opportunity to touch your partner. Sit closer to them, put their hand on the leg, arm around them, anything. Something that you could do this week to shift something. Change it up, mix it up. What's something that you could do? Shock them. Might feel awkward, but at least it's doing something. It's not sitting there feeling so miserable, but they're not doing anything about it. So it's really important to try and do something about it. Yeah, sure, I can inbox you. Thank you. No worries. Happy to help. My last point will be is stop waiting. So if I can give anyone an indication enough, because I can't tell you how many couples that I saw that were, one person was shocked by the separation happening. They didn't see it coming. And people assume that someone's always going to be there. If you've been together for years, people assume that that person is always going to be there. If you don't make it a priority, until one day someone finally makes the decision they don't want to live like that anymore. And I can't tell you how many people were shocked that a separation had happened. And it is an awful thing to go through. Divorce is the second biggest life stressor we will face after the death of a spouse. So if there's something that we can do to prevent it, I've seen the trauma that it causes to people. So don't wait. So many people sit there and think, well, they haven't tried, so I'm not going to try. Maybe sometimes you have to be the one to try. You might have to be the one to make the first move. And in my 30-day reset, the first day is just asking them how they are, because as well, I guarantee you haven't spoken in a while. We've been perfect for 30 years, then bang, menopause. Menopause comes up in so many of my comments, in so many of my lives. People write about menopause. I've said it so many times, I could probably start a new page about just on menopause. It does impact the relationship. And I've said it before, that the best way to get through that stage is to educate yourself as much as you possibly can about it. And if you are the spouse of the person going through it, to read a book or whatever might sound ridiculous, but if you have an understanding of it, there's so much on the internet. There's so many podcasts. There's so many things about it. If you have a better understanding about it, people can shift in taking it so personally, because it is a physiological response that is happening to her body that she cannot control. So if you have an understanding around that, it sets you as the individual aside from it a bit. And yes, it's impacting you as well, but it will end eventually. And so how are you both going to get through that? If you've said that you were great for 30 years prior to that, then that's amazing. You know that the two of you can work through things and work it out. Then what are some of the things you can do to get yourself through this? It might be that you need to do some counseling around it. It might be that you need to do as much research about it as you can. But that would be the best way that I would say to try and tackle that situation, because I know it's real. So this week, just pick one habit to change. If I can leave here and give anyone an insight into anything, just pick one of the things that I have said that if you thought your partner did the opposite and you might like, then just try and do that. It's not going to cost you anything. If you get a grunt, if you get a rejection or whatever, at least you know you've tried. It gives you a better insight into how long you want to... Uncle Bradshaw, oh, thank you. No worries. I hope that helped a little bit. But I'm not underestimating what you're going through. I know it is real, and I know it will be impacting your relationship because so many others have said the same. Remind your partner this week that you do still choose them. You do still want it. If you do, this might also give you an insight that it might be the end for you. I'm not saying it's going to fix everybody. For some people, it might be about deciding to move on. And that's fine if that's the decision that you get to. But if you do still want to try, then you need to show your partner that you do still choose them along the way, because it's so easy now for someone else to come along. So next week, we will talk about the next post of the week. And as I said, the link to join my waitlist in the bio for the roommate reset. If it's something that you want to try, 30 simple daily actions of the similar things that I've been talking about, then please come and join me. And if you do join, then I'll be talking about it along the way of the 30 days and giving you as much help and insight as I possibly can. So thank you for everybody for joining, and I will see you next week.